Welcome to Referencing Bites, a series of short videos designed to help you to understand how to reference in your written assignments. In this episode we'll look at the idea of crediting others for work they've done and the main aims of referencing. We'll also look at how the Harvard or author-date method of referencing helps to achieve those aims, and we'll introduce some useful guides that will help you to reference different types of information. Referencing can be time-consuming and difficult, especially to start with. We'll show you ways to make it quicker and easier, but if we're going to all this effort to reference, it's important to understand why we're doing it. Take a moment now to think of reasons why it might be important to reference the work of others. You can click the pause button if you need a bit more time to think. One reason is to make it clear that you're not trying to take credit for other people's work. It can be really annoying when others take credit for your ideas, and the same goes for academic assignments. We're not saying that you shouldn't refer to other people's research and theories. In fact, it's the opposite. Your lecturers will want to see that you've read and understood the ideas of others. What's important is that any time you use somebody else's idea, you need to give them credit for it. In academic work, taking credit for the work of others is called plagiarism. In minor cases, for example, forgetting to reference a source you've used, this may just lose you marks on your assignment. In more extreme cases, plagiarism can be considered an academic offence and can have serious consequences. Apart from avoiding plagiarism, there are other good reasons to reference. Referencing your work properly helps your lecturers to see that you have used quality sources when researching your essay and how these have shaped your thinking about the subject. Sometimes the people marking your assignment might need to check that what you've said about a source is accurate. One of the main aims of referencing is to give them all the information they need to go and find your sources for themselves. This can also save you time when you need to refer back to work you've read before. If you've referenced all the details, like the author, title and edition, this makes it easy to find those documents again in the future. At Bournemouth we use a style of referencing called the Harvard style, sometimes also known as the author-date style. Each reference you create will consist of two parts. The first is called a citation in the text. This is basically a very brief note that you add to your sentence to show that you are referring to somebody else's work. The citation in the text always includes the author's surname and the year that the source was published. This is why it's sometimes called the author-date method. Your lecturers will know the key authors for the subject, so they'll often be able to tell from your author-date citation if you've used a good source, and also if the information is up to date. The citation in the text also directs the reader to the second part of your reference. This is more detailed as it needs to give all the information someone would need if they wanted to find the source you've used. They might need to do this to check that what you've written about the source is accurate. You need to write these full references in an alphabetical list at the end of your assignment. Because these also start with the author and date, it's easy to find which reference your citation in the text is referring to. You'll be expected to use a range of different sources in your assignments. There are different ways to reference different types of information. For example, a reference to a book contains some different details to a reference to a journal article. You can find examples of how to reference different types of material in the BU Guide to Citation in the Harvard style. This provides a standard so that everyone can reference consistently. Your work will be marked on how closely it matches the examples in the Harvard Guide. You can find the guides in the referencing section of the Academic Skills tab on My BU. An easy way to reference is to find a relevant example in the BU Guide and adapt it for the document you're trying to reference. To make this even easier, we've also produced quick guides. Again, you can access these from the Academic Skills tab. These break down the guide into separate examples. To reference a book, you could click on the quick guide to referencing books and change the details like the author, title and publisher for the book you're trying to reference. We'll cover this in more detail in the next video. To summarise, we've covered the importance of avoiding plagiarism, the main aims of referencing, the basics of the Harvard or author-date method of referencing, and where you can access guides that will show you how to reference. You can find further materials on referencing and plagiarism on the Academic Skills tab in My BU. If you're struggling with referencing, you can email academicskills@bournemouth.ac.uk referencingbites.ac.uk for further support.